Hello, good evening. Just making a brief recording just to put out for you to see. Just first of all to wish you all a happy new year. And I'm here on New Year's Eve, having received this locomotive today. Go around the track there, and it's a model built by Mainline. A Mainline 4300 class 260 locomotive. A Mogul. A Mogul is 260. Designed by Church Ward, and they were built from 1911 up to around about 1930. Now these form the basis for later locomotives. In fact, a lot of them were reused for that purpose. This one, as you see, survived into BR service. It's got the BR early crest, so it's in black. It's also got the style of cab which you would see on a Saints class locomotive. Now, as you can see, it's not running too badly at the moment. And what I had to do was it was a little bit erratic. It was actually advertised as being so. We're running slightly erratically. But what I've done is I've actually managed to clean it up and get it running properly for you to see tonight. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to run it into the station in just a moment. So we're going to have a little talk about the mainline locomotives. What I've got is I've got the two which they produce the BR mainline, and one was in the early crest and one's in the late crest. Now what I have to do is we'll just quickly go up and change the points. There we are. And then we'll watch it go into the station. Perfect. Lovely. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll bring the light down a little bit, give it a better view. There we are. Now, mainline locomotives. This is the first one I bought quite a few months ago during the lockdown. As you can see, it's in BR green with a late crest. Now it's also got the later cab with the side window, which you can see there. And apart from the colour schemes, they're quite similar to each other. You can see where there's a little bit of lining there on the cylinder block there. Number 7332. I believe this is one of a later batch of locomotives built for the Great Western Railway in 1930. Now, apart from the differences of the cab, I do believe that they're identical to each other. Now, as you can see, looking over here now, we're looking at the earlier version, which were built from 1911 onwards, and they've got the cab similar to what you would see on the Saints and the Stars. You'll see there's no side window, it's a much smaller cab. I say I bought this locomotive arrived today. I only ordered this on the 28th, and there was a ring on the doorbell this morning, and there it was, waiting for me. So I think it was an excellent service from the post office, an excellent service from the seller. Now, we'll have a little look at the coaches as well. These are Hornby coaches, and they're very, very sort of standard Hornby Great Western coaches. Now, these have got an advantage over some of the other coaches, like the BR Mark 1 or the other Collet coaches. These are slightly shorter, and if you've got a small layout, you need to make the most of all the space you can get. The station you can see there is a cardboard kit from Super Quick. I believe you can still buy them. Takes you a few hours to build, but then you've got obviously the sense of achievement afterwards of having built something. And over in the fire station there's a 14XX. I put that out today just to check that I put everything together correctly. When I first got this locomotive this morning, it didn't work at all. But when I actually took it apart and put some current onto the brush holders, the motor span. So I knew there was nothing wrong with the motor. So what I did was I resat the motor onto the chassis. What they've got, these are called split chassis locomotives, and they depend on getting their electrical contact through their split chassis. The chassis comes in two halves, and they're insulated from each other, and the current goes through the wheels, up through the chassis, through the motor, and down the other side. One of the other advantages of this setup is that there's no wires, but like I said, the contact wasn't quite making. One of the contacts from the brush holders wasn't quite making contact with the chassis, but now it is. You can see, and it's running absolutely fine. Now, I've decided to call my little layout here bedstead junction, as it's on a bed. I'll be taking this down later on, so I can go to bed. And in fact, I'll be taking this railway down quite soon, so I'll be nipping downstairs to see the new year with Father. Probably have a couple of drinks before we go to bed tonight. Please excuse the marks on the layout. Everything was put up in the attic quite some time ago, and I only brought this down during the lockdown to keep me amused, and I've rekindled my model railway interest. In fact, I bought quite a few locomotives from eBay since the beginning of the lockdown. Now I'm actually filming this on my phone, and for convenience, there are 4300 class 260 locomotive. It came with everything. It came with the box. You can see the box. Instructions. There's a detail kit in there with the brake rodding. That's all ready to fit if I should choose to fit it. 37091 Black Mogul. That's what stands there for there. Mainline railways. The parent company was called Palitoy, and sadly the parent company Palitoy decided to make a break away from model railways in 1984 to concentrate on Star Wars toys. I think was a real shame. But what they actually did, they carried on producing the models in the factory in Hong Kong. And they were briefly marketed as replica railways. In fact, the pannier tank came out as replica railways, which was identical to the mainline locomotive. Also had a split chassis. And then they were rebranded as Bachmann. So that's why you still see some split chassis Bachmanns available on eBay. The split chassis is no longer used by manufacturers now. One of the supposed weaknesses was that they had to have a piece of insulating plastic in the axle between the driving wheels to insulate the two halves of the chassis from each other on the track. Now, what used to happen was that these axles used to eventually let go when the wheels used to spin, and then the quartering used to go out. As you can see on this one, the connecting rods are, with at least the wheels anyway, are level. They are too on there, look, so it's not out of line. You can spot one where the quarter's gone out because it'll be wonky. You'll have one connecting rod sort of like this, another one like this, and it'll be running. It won't run very well, or if it runs at all. Now we'll just move over to the have a quick brief look at the other station over here. That's built by Hornby. The far platform there is another super quick cardboard kit, but those are two plastic kits from Hornby. I bought those for durability, really, because having to take things down and put them back up again, take them down, put them back up again, obviously you might get some damage. This is the only room where I can actually run the railway, and as you can see, there's just about enough room for me to keep it here. This is the controller I'm using. Gauge Master Series D, which I bought in about 1992 I think, and it's still working fine now to this day, so no problem with that at all. Now what we're going to do is just to celebrate my little victory with getting this running, I'm going to give this locomotive a little run around the track. Now what we'll do is we'll move the lamp away. Oh, by the way, this is a lamp I bought. You can see there is a hobby lamp, and I would recommend getting a good lamp if you've got a modern railway. It will let you see what you're doing. You can see I've got a little pot at the bottom there to keep all my stuff in, which is all very good. Now have a quick look and see if we can get the point set. Then we'll give her a quick run out. Yep, it looks good to me. It may need the hand of God because this track isn't the best on the sidings. Oh no, it's going. Okay, so now we'll take the points there so we don't go back. There we are, just check the points are in the right position. And we'll have a little look at this one. It's still a little bit reluctant on points, but what we'll do is we'll take it apart again and re-clean out the channels where the axles run, because the current runs through the wheels, through one side of the axle, up through the chassis into the motor, and then back down again through the opposite wheel. I think possibly one of I think probably the middle wheel isn't making contact. Well, we'll try that anyway. I can see it runs quite well. It wasn't running very well this morning. It was very hesitant, but it was advertised as being quite hesitant to run. But look at that, it's running beautifully now. Look at that, lovely. The GWR Mogul. Another advantage of the GWR Mogul, it being a 260, is that again, they're shorter to go on your layout. With very, very limited space, you're going to have a restriction, especially on a 6 foot by 4 foot layout, as to what you can actually get on there. And this, with the shorter Hornby coaches, fits absolutely perfect. The coaches in the station I originally bought. Actually, no, I tell a lie. The coaches were going around with the black Mogul. I bought them around about 1992. Now, they were standard Hornby coaches, and the coaches which are actually in the platform there, the back one I already had a spare brake coach, but the front two, the composite coach and the restaurant car, they were both Hornby Railroad, and they are identical to my 1990 ones here, my 1990 carriages. I was quite pleased to be able to get hold of the matching carriages. Now you can see it's running round very nicely. What I had to do is I took it all apart, as I say, cleaned it all up, cleaned up the car. I had to sort of check the connection between the motor and the chassis, because that's how the motor gets its electricity. I took one of the brush springs out, one of the brushes, and it looked absolutely fine. Look through the commutator, looks clean. The inside of the motor looked good. So give it a good oil in, give it a good clean up, and away it goes. Look, it's running lovely, look at that. Now what I'm going to do is I'll be winding things down in just a few moments. I'll be going downstairs to have a few greets with Father. I wish you all a very, very happy new year. Stay safe during this lockdown, and hopefully we'll have this vaccine available to all of us, and we can get ourselves out and about again. I know I'd like to get out to the pub for a pint at some point. Well, I'm not doing this now. I'm completely isolating during this pandemic. Just basically going out and getting the pure basics and nothing else. So I'm sure many of you are. Okay, so once again, I bid you farewell and a happy new year from my railway Bedstead Junction. Because of the bedstead down there, the junction that's near it. Okay, and thanks very much, and thanks for watching. And thank you very much. Good night.